What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Review for Code Geass, Roze of the Recapture. This is episode 9. With me, as always, I have Blue Spade.
hmm So I mean, we're still having like issues wrapping our heads around like where or how this is gonna end. Uh,
Yeah, well, there's just a lot of things in this episode that didn't make a lot of sense to me, too. So, I mean, of course, in the last episode, I predicted that what was it? That Ash wasn't going to kill Sakuya, which he doesn't, of course, because as we know, like, her father entrusted him to protect her, and he wasn't going to do it just based on that. And also, like, he does feel betrayed, of course, because she had used her Geass on him to make him see her as his brother. But he still ends up helping her regardless. I mean, it's the way that this plays out though is kind of confusing because um, he shoots past her and like he's going to kill her, but he doesn't, and then I guess he just like leaves and has her go back into her, or I guess he doesn't free her from her restraints. And Scissor Man goes back to basically doing what he was doing already, which is like trying to get her to use her Geass or something to like torture her people in front of her. So like he was already doing this before Ash showed up and fought him. So it's basically it's almost like that none of that really happened because he just goes back to doing it. I mean, somehow Sakuya gets out of her restraints, like she gets out and confronts Scissor Man, and he has more of her people, like with those like neck devices, and he starts killing them, and then like basically I'm not really sure about like how this makes it just didn't make any sense because what happens is that Sakuya is desperately like trying to get him to stop. She basically says like what is it, like I command you or something like that, to try basically what she would say if she had Geass somebody, or to try to utilize her Geass on them. But as we know, the Geass no longer works on Ash. She had broken free from it. But he shows up and at the at the right time to basically like stop Scissor Man, and she then tries to Geass him, but before she can do it, he kills himself. Um, but I was just kind of confused as to how this, like, I kind of figured like, oh, maybe they had made some kind of a plan to stop him or something off screen, but that didn't really make any sense to me. Like, I thought they were going to do a flashback to where like before he left, like they made some kind of plan to how they're going to stop Scissor Man. But even then, that wouldn't have made sense because they could have just killed Scissor Man regardless. But I don't know. I didn't really understand this scene. Like, why does he show back up again? Or at least, like, why does he leave and then just show back up again if it seemed like he'd already made up his mind.
yeah,
But I guess they wanted to make it seem like he didn't, or I don't know. But, of course he joins up with her. But now he knows, the only difference is, of course, now he knows that she is Sakuya, not Roze or whatever.
yeah.
Um,
But of course, Ash decides to keep Asaki around, and of course convince her to go around pretending to be Rose for the time being. So
yeah.
they go back to the resistance base, and of course Sakia as Rose feels guilt over what happened to the resistance group after she was captured, and she goes into it like you could say she was going into a downward spiral, but then she kind of snaps back into it halfway through the episode.
Yeah. Yeah, like she's still like, I guess, feeling depressed, or like regrets what she had to do. Um and then there's also like one scene where Ash is talking about how he misses like Raspberry. I guess he didn't realize that it was her, even though they looked the same. And of course Sakuya admits that she is her, which again, like, I don't know how he didn't recognize her. But yeah, and then like we have some other scenes, like we have more. This whole episode is just full of cameos from characters from the original series. including Gino. Like, I mean, it was interesting to see, I guess, what position he's in now. I mean, it makes sense, like that he's, I guess, like a high ranking, I don't know, like official or government official or something.
Yeah. So
Um,
much of the bulk of this episode is supposedly about these supposed peace talks between Neo Britannia and the United Federation of Nations. Now, Norland sends Nara Vaughn to be an ambassador to initiate these peace talks with the UFN. Of course, like the UFN's like terms is for Neo Britannia to let go of their stranglehold over the Hokkaido area and disband their military and their country altogether. But Nara counters this with specific demands not to uh for Neo Britannians or Britannians in general not to be discriminated against, which of course causes a back and forth, which Cornelia says that they got hamstrung with these peace talks now. Which honestly, if I would really love to know like what the whole details were of Neo Britannia's terms of this whole thing, like I would understand it
well,
more. Like
another thing too is they mentioned, I think, before that they had already had these peace negotiations with Neo Britannia and they never really worked out, I guess. And I guess that happened again where they had more peace negotiations and the negotiations broke down.
yeah, it's really confusing to be honest. And Cornelia's trying to find a way to to try to move forward with these negotiations. So she goes to Kaguya Sumeragi to I guess in a way to help out with these negotiations, which of course off screen I guess Kaguya agrees to these terms. So she's going to take part in the for the remainder of these peace negotiations. But then
Yeah, and
so
and like I mentioned, we do have multiple cameos, like because when Cordelia does show up to talk to her, we have a cameo of Guilford, but he doesn't say anything, like he doesn't do anything, so he
yeah.
just should, yeah.
Yeah, so then like soon afterwards, while these negotiations are happening, large mechanical units being sent by Neo Britannia attacks like every single country around the world, killing
Yeah, somehow
civilians left
they're
and
all
right.
caught off guard by these things.
Yeah.
And these things, like, so we mentioned in previous episode reviews that apparently there was something that one of the Neo-Britannian scientists was working on, some kind of secret, I guess some secret weapon, and I guess that's what this is. I don't think there's a proper name for them or anything, but just based on the way they work, I was just kind of joking to myself, like saying that they're basically like blender robots, because what they do is they suck people up and essentially like blend them into this bloody mist. So like, and they mostly seem to be stuck on the ground, but I guess none of the nations can figure out how to take down these things, because they just kind of go on the ground and I guess suck everything up in their way and blend them.
I mean, to be fair, like like most of the world has been caught off guard by these machines, and they'll eventually come up with a counterattack. But
I
it
guess you
just
can make the argument as well as that, it, at least like for a while, the world probably has been mostly peaceful, I would assume. So they're probably all caught off guard by some, small rebel force like Neo Britannia sending in these weapons to, I guess, different nations and
yeah, but
tr-
not only there, but they're also sending these machines in the Hokkaido area where Neo Britannia is based at. So
yeah.
what is Norland's end game here? Why
Yeah,
is
we don't know. Norland is less like we still don't know what he's trying to do. We basically we also get like a line from Gino, I guess, in this episode that apparently Norland was someone that I guess was something about like how Charles had entrusted him with something, or like he was one of Charles' like most trusted members or something like that. But of course, like, I guess to imply that he was around during the original series, but conveniently, he never shows up. But and of course Gino and everybody else is just completely caught by surprise. And also, while this is happening, we have cameos from other characters, including characters from Akito the Exiled, they're just like, I guess that they're just kind of walking around, and then they're, caught by surprise by these robots. So I guess it's going to motivate Akito to do something. So what I'm assuming is going to happen is there's going to be a bunch of characters from the original series are going to maybe like join forces to fight these things or something like that. Just so just basically more, like I said before we started recording this, is it's basically just more fan service. It's just an excuse to have characters from the original series show up again. But it just feels like it's kind of just meaningless. Like, it's just, they're just doing it just to, essentially, like I said, just for fan service. Just,
Yeah,
so you get,
and
yeah,
then there was of course we should also mention that Nanli and Suzaku are in this episode too.
yeah,
Um, so Nanli's of course like in Zilkstan, the very same country she was abducted in from the Lelouch the Resurrection movie, and Suzaku is still under the guise of Zero. Somehow sense the upcoming attack. Um, so it's yeah. I mean, obviously, like they're gonna have like a lot of these characters like Akito and his friends, Suzaku and Gino, Cornelia, everybody else, like being forced to take part in this worldwide battle, being I don't know, being thrust upon them for little to no reason. Thanks to Norland. What? But yeah, if like you said earlier about like Norland being associated with Charles, I'm still going with my original prediction last week that it has something to do with like with maybe Norland wants to continue with the Emperor's whole Ragnarok project.
yeah, maybe so. Which is really one of the more ridiculous things in the original series that I think a lot of people do criticize it for. So it would be kind of crazy if they do go that direction. But I mean, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised at this point. It feels like, like if you consider that a lot of the series just has been sort of a rehash of the original Code Geass, I guess it would make sense if that's the direction this ends up going, with Norland just trying to do the Ragnarok plan again.
I mean, honestly, at this point, I would say the best comparison I would put this show in is like the Star Wars sequels trilogy, like rehashing like what they
Yeah,
did for the original trilogy. So this is
yeah,
essentially what this is. They're rehashing like almost a somewhat similar plot with Neo Britannia, with some characters like almost mirroring their original character counterparts. Cornelia, Colin, like like Sakia being like the Lelouch of the series now, but it's like I don't know. It's just, but a lot of the plot is starting to become a little bit nonsensical to the point where it's like you're just wondering like how is this going to end, and how is this going to like lead into anything else in the future, according to like
yeah.
their so-called 10-year plan for the Code Geass series.
It really just doesn't seem like there was much of a plan, because I mean, just when you consider how, like you said, how nonsensical the plot has been, and how it just seems like a hollow rehash of the original Code Geass series. It doesn't seem like they really thought this out very well, because I mean, it just seems like it's like, what's the point of Roze of the Recapture if it's just trying to copy from the original series and not really do anything new.
Yeah, it's I honestly I don't know. I think it's just mostly fan service, which is kind of I mean, it can work in both ways. Some like you'd be excited for it and like in looking forward to like what's gonna happen in the future, but
Well, yeah,
this they're
sometimes it
kind of
can work, but in this case, they're just using it, I think, to cover up the fact that there really isn't much of a, that there really isn't much of a plot, and the characters are very shallow and not, anywhere near as developed as the characters from the original series.
I mean it would make the some parts of the plot a little bit better had it involved like some of the some maybe a few of the a little bit more of the OG characters outside of Nina, which they featured in earlier episodes. They would have included maybe Colin, maybe, and some of the original members of the Japanese resistance from the original series, maybe. But I don't know. just including like anime original characters for this show. I mean, some are good, but their development is kind of weak in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, but I don't really have too much else to say about the episode. It's just I feel like every week it just feels like it gets the series just kind of gets dumber. Like with every episode, it just really feels that way. And I mean, I guess I was surprised by the amount of. Well, I guess I really shouldn't be, but I mean, there was quite a few cameos from characters from the original series in this. And my prediction, like I mentioned before, is just that they're going to have the original series characters come together to try to fight these things that Norland has basically sent across the world, I guess. Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably what's going to happen. But I mean, other than that, I don't really have much else to say, though. I don't know if you have anything else to say about it.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see where this leads. I mean, we're down to the last 3 episodes of this season, I guess. Well, I mean, I don't anticipate any other, continuation of the Rose storyline, unless they just throw it out on us. I don't think I've heard any major announcements, considering that they just released the final movie in Japan. Like surprisingly, they've been tight-lipped on like on any of the spoilers that have released so far. But yeah, but as of right now, like we only have like 3 episodes left, but as of right now, I don't know how this will lead into anything in the future of Code Geass in general.
Yeah, same here. But yeah, guys, so that all being said, until next time, we will see you all later.